It was 8:47 p.m. when every television, phone, laptop, and radio in the city suddenly interrupted whatever people were watching. The familiar emergency alert system tone echoed through my apartment, vibrating my phone on the coffee table and flashing bright red across my TV screen. I barely looked up at first. Severe weather alerts weren't unusual in Chicago. I expected another tornado warning or flash flood advisory. Instead, the screen turned black. A countdown appeared for 5 seconds. Then a man stepped into view, wearing the standard emergency broadcast uniform. He stood in front of an American flag inside what looked like a government briefing room. My stomach tightened the moment he started speaking. The voice coming through every speaker in my apartment was mine. I stared at the television, unable to breathe. The man had my face, my eyes, my voice, even the small scar near my left eyebrow from a bicycle accident when I was 12. He looked exhausted, with dark circles under his eyes and dried blood on the collar of his shirt. He looked directly into the camera as if he could see every person watching. "This is not a test," he said in my voice. "If you can hear me, stay away from all windows. Do not answer your phone if it rings from an unknown number. Most importantly, if you see someone who looks exactly like you, do not let them inside." Before anyone could process the warning, the broadcast suddenly glitched. The image distorted with violent static, and just before the screen went black, the man leaned closer to the camera and whispered, "They're already listening." Within seconds, the broadcast disappeared from every device as if it had never happened. Regular programming resumed, and news anchors looked completely confused. Social media exploded with videos of people recording the alert. Everyone was asking the same question. Who was the man? Why did he have the same face as me? My phone began vibrating non-stop with messages from friends and co-workers. Some thought I had somehow hacked the emergency system. Others demanded to know why I had appeared on national television. Before I could answer a single message, my phone rang. The caller ID displayed only one word: unknown. I remembered the warning from the broadcast and let it ring. The call ended after exactly 10 seconds. A moment later, another emergency alert interrupted every screen again. This time, there was no countdown. The image appeared immediately. The same version of me was still standing there, but now the lights behind him were flickering and distant screams echoed somewhere off camera. He looked terrified. "If your phone already rang," he said, struggling to catch his breath, "you're out of time. Don't trust anyone who says the first broadcast was fake. They're replacing people one by one. If you hear knocking at your front door, whatever you do." Suddenly, a loud banging echoed behind him. He slowly turned toward the sound. His face turned completely pale. Then he whispered 4 words that made my blood run cold. "It found me first." The broadcast cut to black so abruptly that I almost convinced myself it had been pre-recorded. Then, every light in my apartment dimmed at the same time. My television turned itself back on without displaying a channel. The screen showed nothing but heavy static. Hidden beneath the crackling noise, I heard faint whispers repeating my name over and over again. My phone vibrated once more. Another call from unknown. This time, instead of declining it, I simply watched the screen. The ringtone stopped after 10 seconds. A voicemail appeared instantly, even though I had never answered. My hands trembled as I pressed play. There was only silence for several seconds before my own voice whispered, "Don't let them hear you breathing." At that exact moment, I realized I had been holding my breath the entire time. A violent knock shook my apartment door. Then another. Then another. 3 slow knocks, each louder than the last. I stepped backward without making a sound. Through the peephole, I expected to see a police officer or a frightened neighbor. Instead, I saw an empty hallway. Nobody was standing outside. The knocking continued anyway. My phone lit up again with a text message from an unknown sender. They're standing where you can't see them. My heartbeat pounded in my ears. Against every instinct, I leaned toward the peephole one more time. The hallway was still empty. Then, just before I stepped away, two pale eyes suddenly appeared inches from the other side of the door, staring directly back through the peephole. I stumbled backward as laughter echoed from the hallway before everything fell silent again. The city outside erupted into chaos. Sirens wailed in every direction. I looked out through a narrow gap in my curtains and immediately regretted it. People were running through the streets while others stood completely still, staring upward at giant electronic billboards. Every billboard in downtown Chicago had changed to the same emergency broadcast. My face filled every screen across the skyline. The version of me on the broadcast no longer looked frightened. He was smiling. "They're among you now," he calmly announced. "If someone you know suddenly stops blinking, don't let them touch you." The camera slowly zoomed out, revealing dozens of identical people standing behind him. Every one of them had the same face as someone watching somewhere in the country. My apartment suddenly became unnaturally quiet. Even the sirens outside had stopped. I turned around and felt every drop of blood leave my body. The bathroom door, which I knew I had left open, was now closed. From behind it came the sound of someone softly humming a tune my mother used to sing when I was a child. She had been dead for 8 years. The humming stopped. A familiar voice spoke from the other side of the door. It was my own voice, calm and patient. "You don't have to hide anymore," it said. "Open the door and let the real one come out." I stood frozen in the middle of the apartment, unable to move or even breathe. The voice behind the bathroom door wasn't just similar to mine. It matched every tiny detail, every pause, every change in tone. Slowly, the doorknob began turning on its own. I backed away until my shoulders hit the living room wall. The door creaked open just enough to reveal complete darkness inside. No light came from the bathroom, even though I knew I had left it on only minutes earlier. Then someone stepped out. It was me. Same clothes, same haircut, same scar above my eyebrow. The only difference was the expression. It smiled with absolute confidence, as though it had already won. Without saying a word, it pointed toward the television. The emergency broadcast had returned. The screen no longer showed a government studio. Instead, it displayed a live camera feed of my apartment. I could see myself standing in the living room, except there were two of us now. The broadcast wasn't delayed. It was happening in real time. Across the bottom of the screen, red letters scrolled continuously. "Identity verification in progress." The copy slowly turned its head toward the camera before looking back at me. Then the message on the screen changed. "Only one subject matches official records." My phone buzzed immediately afterward. A government emergency notification appeared. "Remain calm. If you encounter an unverified individual claiming to be you, do not resist responding officers." Before I could process the warning, police sirens stopped directly outside my building. Heavy footsteps thundered up the apartment stairs. Someone pounded on my front door. "Federal emergency response," a man shouted. "Open the door immediately." Relief washed over me. I rushed toward the entrance, but the copy grabbed my wrist with impossible strength. Its skin felt like ice. It leaned close enough for me to hear its whisper. "They're not coming for me." I looked through the peephole. 4 officers in tactical gear stood in the hallway with rifles raised. One held a tablet displaying my driver's license photo. Another officer spoke into his radio. "Target confirmed inside apartment 814. Visual match complete." My phone vibrated again with another emergency alert. "Do not trust government responders. They can no longer identify originals." Before I could decide who to believe, the apartment lights exploded in a shower of sparks. Every screen in the room switched on at once. The television, laptop, phone, and even the microwave display showed the same emergency broadcast. Thousands of faces appeared, each speaking in perfect unison. Every face belonged to someone different, yet every voice was mine. "The replacement has begun," they said together. "The originals can no longer recognize themselves." The apartment door burst open. The officers stormed inside, but they didn't point their weapons at the copy. They aimed every rifle directly at me. Their commander looked into my eyes and calmly said, "Step away from the civilian, sir. You have been identified as the duplicate." As I tried to protest, I caught my reflection in the shattered television screen. For just a single second, my reflection smiled while I wasn't smiling at all. My heart nearly stopped. I wasn't smiling, but my reflection was. It slowly lifted one hand and pressed its palm against the inside of the broken television screen, as if the glass were nothing more than a window. Then it stepped through it. The officers didn't react. They couldn't even see it. They kept their rifles trained on me while the thing wearing my reflection walked silently around them. It stopped only a few feet away and stared into my eyes with a look of pity. "You still think you're the original," it said softly. "That's the saddest part." Before I could answer, every emergency siren outside the city began blaring at once. The windows shook violently as another nationwide emergency alert interrupted every electronic device in the apartment. The broadcast showed the same government briefing room, but it was completely empty except for one chair facing away from the camera. Slowly, the chair turned around. Sitting in it was the version of me who had delivered the very first warning. His face was bruised, exhausted, and covered in dried blood. He looked directly into the camera and sighed. "If you're watching this, I failed again." He reached toward the lens and held up a photograph. It showed hundreds of people standing in Times Square during the first emergency broadcast. Every person in the crowd had been circled in red. One circle was around me. "The copies don't replace everyone," he continued. "They replace the people who hear their own voice. The moment you recognized yourself on the first broadcast, the process started." Behind him, the studio lights suddenly went dark one by one. He looked over his shoulder in terror before whispering, "Don't let it speak with your voice." The screen exploded into static. The officers suddenly lowered their weapons. They stared at me with blank expressions before turning toward the copy standing beside me. One by one, they saluted it. Without a single word, they walked out of my apartment and disappeared into the hallway. My phone buzzed with one final government notification. "Identity verification complete. Thank you for your cooperation." I looked at the copy, expecting it to attack me, but instead it smiled gently and handed me my apartment keys. "You don't belong here anymore," it said. "My life starts now." Before I could move, the walls around me dissolved into darkness. I felt myself falling through endless silence until I landed inside a cold room filled with television monitors. Every screen showed a different city across America: New York, Los Angeles, Dallas, Seattle, Miami. Every monitor displayed an emergency alert. Every broadcast featured someone else's face delivering the same impossible warning. I wasn't alone in the room. Hundreds of frightened people stood between the glowing screens. Some cried quietly. Others pounded on locked steel doors that never opened. Every one of them looked familiar because each had once been the face of an emergency broadcast. A loudspeaker crackled overhead. "Prepare the next transmission." Before I could run, invisible hands forced me into a chair beneath a television camera. A bright red recording light switched on. A countdown appeared in front of me. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Without my permission, my mouth opened. In my own voice, I spoke the words that another version of me had once said. "This is not a test." At that exact moment, across the country, millions of televisions, phones, laptops, radios, and billboards interrupted their programming. Families looked up in confusion as my face appeared on every screen. I tried to scream, to warn them that none of it could be stopped, but the only words that came out were the script they wanted me to read. Somewhere, in another apartment, another ordinary person stared at the television in horror, because the man delivering the emergency broadcast had their face.